Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. It's taken me a minute to come up with and do some of the research for what I'm about to show on this video. Again, this is a follow-on to a Carrington type event, or Carrington 2.0. And what I want to go through is what the timeline looks like for pretty much complete societal collapse, and then what would be going on in each of those stages. This is 4 stages that I'm going to talk about. Now, keep in mind that 2 things. One, you're going to have about 12 hours of warning that the event is going to happen. So whatever your strategy is to protect the things that you need to protect, you have 12 hours to get that done. Second, no one is coming to help you. No one is coming to help you. No one is coming to help you, and there will be no resupply of your preps, right? No one is going to resupply your preps. I want to take a look at what you've seen in Gaza, right, for example, and any other place where war has been going on the ground and the effect on civilians. The only reason that there has not been a complete catastrophe there is that there has been resupply of their food and resupply of their water. So picture that and no resupply, right? Remember, 80% of all of the humans on the planet are going to die of starvation, exposure, and lack of water. Why? Because there is no resupply. There are those that say, well, I can farm. If you are able and the growing season supports you, because you have no idea when that's going to take place. So if the growing season happens at the wrong time, you're going to be screwed. Think the Dust Bowl. Think other places in the world where there have been crop failures. Now, where those have happened, there have been humanitarian relief. There will be no relief. Now, I'm going to talk about some of that in a second. So there are 4 phases, and I want you to think about the impact of the Black Plague, which took out 80% of the humans living in Europe at the time. So let's talk about some of those things, right? Let me get my handy dandy whiteboard out. And we're talking about societal collapse, right here. 4 phases of societal collapse. One is going to be an immediate grid collapse. That is, anything that is capable of using technology to do anything is gone. And it's going to be gone for a while. There will be no government response because the government will be affected as well. They got stuff too. There might be some governmental agencies, military, maybe some others around the world that have protected maybe some servers, maybe some of that kind of stuff. Unlikely vehicles, right? The food supply chain, and this is a big one. People talk about, well, we're 9 meals away from, collapse. That is the supermarkets. Remember, somebody has to resupply just in time the supermarkets. What are those? They're called trucks, right? Where are those trucks? And where do the trucks get the cargo that they're going to deploy to the supermarkets, right? Think about that. It's not just it's the entire food supply chain. Water is a bit different. Because if you're fortunate enough to live next to natural water and you have the right water purification capability, you're going to be okay that way. Uh, if you have farmland, uh, do you have the ability, like the Amish, I keep using the Amish, to not use technology to farm? Because they do, but they are a very small population in this country. Um, that number one, immediate grid collapse, is going to take about 1 to 3 months. So if you have 3 months worth of preps or more, you will probably be okay. Most people, in my opinion, should have at least 6 months to a year's worth of preps. Not that, and I'll show you why that's not going to be enough, but it will give you some breathing room to come up with some other strategies. So the supermarkets are going to be empty unless you're kind of stupid and you've let everybody know that you're a prepper and that you have preps. Your stuff should be okay, but we're going to talk about that in a minute too. But the supply chain, the trucks that might have been on the road and did not heed the warning, are going to be full of stuff. Forget the reefer trucks, because whatever's in there is going to be spoiled by the time this thing starts to kick off. So things that are non-perishable. Where are those trucks? What depot did they come from? Right? Where are the resupply depots for Cisco, for example, SYSCO, that resupplies most of the food in the country? Where are the depots for those trucks to go to and collect what they deliver to restaurants and supermarkets and so forth? I'll talk about that in a second. So that supply chain is going to be halted. But there will still be food and other kind of supplies in that supply chain. You just have to figure out how to get to it. Remember, you don't have any transportation unless you took heed and had the capability to protect your ability to move a vehicle anywhere. I can't stress that enough. You have to go to where the stuff is. If you don't have a vehicle at all, go back to Gaza. When you look at those people moving from one place to another, they have bicycles filled to the top with all kinds of stuff. Bicycles, carts that are pulled by people, pushed by people. You understand what I'm saying? So unless you have the capability or your crew has the capability to go to the places where these stalled trucks are and further into those warehouses, that supply chain is just going to sit there and rot, because you personally won't have the ability to carry enough. And once the surviving people discover that those things are out there, then we'll talk about number two. Okay. So 1 to 3 months dealing with the supply chain, right? Now, in large cities, those depots are close to people than they are in outlying areas. But after 3 or 4 days, after a week, after a month with no food, people are going to start dying off. And so you're talking about who's left, right? Number two, resource wars. That is where either currently existing or to be developed militias, also known as gangs, right, will coalesce together and figure it out, and they will go and get into that supply chain. Now, those wars are going to be over territory and resources, right? And in some cases, forced migration for the survivors. Think Gaza, forcing migration, and that's just a few kilometers, miles, right? Imagine if you have to go 400 miles to get to water, you're not going to make it. That's why 80% of the people are going to die, because they can't get to the other places. If you are fortunate to live along a major waterway, if you are fortunate to live near arable land or land that's already been cultivated as farmland for human food, you're okay, right? Animals, how many animals can support X number of people? That's a math problem. I can tell you there are not enough squirrels and Canada geese to support a city of 10 million. Think sieges back in the day where people would siege castles. Those sieges would go on for months, sometimes years. And if there wasn't food inside the castle area, people started eating rats, horses, whatever they could. That's what this is going to look like. So there'll be wars over control of territory and resources. Now, how would you defend yourself against that? Right? Now, some of the people that are in gangs are going to be dead because they can't resupply themselves either. But there will be wars over resources. Who is going to be your posse, or whose posse are you going to be a part of? Because you're not going to be doing this as a lone wolf. You're just going to die lonely. You're not going to make it. I don't care how many bushcrafting videos you see on YouTube, you're just not going to make it. You can't, because there's no place to resupply. The territories are going to be those territories where the resources are, again, along waterways, arable land. If somebody has the capability to go to these truck depots, right, then they can take the resources there. But here's the problem. Anyone who controls that much food will then control the population, just like Hamas does in Gaza. They use food and water as a control of the population. That is one of the biggest dangers of this societal collapse. Not only will the wars be group against group, but it will be the group that wins controlling the rest of the population by getting compliance for access to food and water. That is what Hamas has done in Gaza. Now, that's going to last about 2 to 5 years, 6 months to 5 years, about. Okay. The third is now going to be, for whoever's left, America will be gone. Countries will be gone. Countries will be gone. Geography will dictate territory, not borders, not flags. Okay, remember, military equipment is not going to be functional because it's been taken out too. All the GPS satellites, there are 25,000 satellites in orbit, in low Earth orbit. None of them will be working. GPS will be gone. Guidance systems that depend on GPS, gone. Right? What kind of weapons will still be useful? Well, analog weapons like guns, because they don't require technology to work. You understand what I'm saying? So, for about 5 years, this is going to go on, and then it will reformat the map of who's who in the zoo. What side are you going to be on? Do you know who you're going to be a part of? Remember, you are not going to be able to migrate anywhere useful unless you are very lucky to already be close to something like that. The third is now that everything has been disassembled for the most part, between 20 and 60 years. 20, in other words, a generation, maybe two, is going to take to reshape society, both locally and globally. I have no idea what that will look like. Uh, will religious zealots of all stripes try to create their own world? Of course they will. Of course they will. Preppers, let me talk about that for a minute. People who are preppers and have these things called homesteads will be the most bigoted, racist, and violent people out there. And they will have to be. Because if you come up to their fence, you come up to their perimeter, and you want in, you better have something you can add to the party. Otherwise, you will be turned away. You'll be turned away. If you misbehave inside or you don't comply, you will be exiled. So the group will try to protect its identity, the local group. So if you think you're going to go and attach yourself to some support system, you had better philosophically agree with their platform. Otherwise, they're not going to accept you. Or if they do, when the shit goes really down, they will kick you out because you now become a threat to them. You understand what I'm saying? It's just going to be the way it is. And that's going to be a couple generations. There are all kinds of movies that you've seen that kind of show this post-apocalypse kind of thing. But that capability, that probability is real. As distasteful as it is, it's real. After that, which is the same kind of thing that happened after the Black Plague, will be the notion of a Renaissance kind of thing. I call it, what did I call it here? The rebirth. Let me just put it up. It will be either the rebirth or regression of society. And that will take centuries. That will take centuries. Keep in mind, I'll just use this as an example. China has been around for thousands of years. And a typical dynasty in China lasts about 250 years. There have been multiple dynasties. America, as we know it, has only been around 250 some years. We're a baby in the world. America will disappear. America will no longer exist. What comes after will be determined by these disparate groups. Now, it will be a rebirth or regression. One of the worst things that we could do is to obliterate knowledge, burn books, destroy any digital documentation, records, any of that. One of the worst things that happened way back was when the great, I think it's the Library of Constantinople, was destroyed. Destroyed. So much knowledge just went gone. We have the Library of Congress. The Vatican has whatever mysterious stuff is there, but it's still knowledge. The worst, because if we destroy our knowledge, right, we will regress back to pretty much demon people because we won't have any basis. Maybe there will be some storytelling, but we won't be the same people that we were. Our values will be different. Our morals will be different. I can't even imagine. I won't be alive to see that, right? I won't be alive to see that. But I'll probably be alive to see the beginning of the end of that. So what does that really mean? What does all of this really mean? It means if you don't think about those things, then you just die ignorant, because you will die. You will die. You won't have access to what you need. You won't have access to a community. And that's probably the worst thing. Myself, I'm still trying to develop the people with whom I want to bond should something like that happen. And it's hard, man. It's hard. Being an atheist in a Christian environment, like where I live, man, you know, gay and lesbian people, they're just to be killed off unless they can create their own community. I'm just saying, that ain't going to happen because people won't tolerate that unless they create their own community and able to defend it. Personally, I will be able to defend where I am, and I should. Where I live is highly defensible. I can defend where I am against a siege from law enforcement for sure. That means anybody else. I have the weapons and the layout. All of that is in my favor. So I will be able to last a lot longer than somebody else. I will be able to support my neighbors better. And some of them will be able to support me better. But I'll go into that maybe in another time. So think about this, what happens over time. It will be generational. It's not something that happens in 30 days. No one's coming. There will be no resupply of your preps, and you will consume your preps. You will. Unless you have a connect to a place that can create food and or generate water for you. That's hard. Because even if, and I have a database that I look for all of the depots where food is stored in the country, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty. You would have to, there's no way to get to it, get what you need, and get back home safely. Because there's no vehicles to carry. It's just not. And somebody's going to take that stuff, or they're going to logger up around it and defend it. And then they will use that as a way to control the population around it. So that's my story. And I'm sticking to it for today. Again, thanks for coming back to the channel. If you like this content, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you get reminded. And as I like to say, wherever you can, whenever you can, however you can, carry on.